All right, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? Make sure everybody can hear me all right. Hey, Marvel Girl, K-Far, Kick, Billy Yank, and Forgiven Jerry, good to see you. So, yeah, we got 20 people. It's a good time to start as any. So, welcome, everybody. Tuesday night, we're just, I'm going to be having a chat with someone I've recently met, Mr. John Malone from the John Malone Show. And here he is. Say hi, John.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for having me on, Tones.
My pleasure. So, in case anyone's wondering, no, John's not a frauditor, so it's not going to be a debate. I'm sorry if anyone's disappointed in that one. He's just another content creator. He works kind of outside the frauder, anti-frauder community. He's kind of a newcomer to this world that we're in. So, we hit it off nice with a lot of fun conversations. So I just thought I'd have him on. So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel.
Yeah, so where to start? So my channel I started about a year ago, and it was kind of a response to the pandemic and being a fan of the Joe Rogan Experience. And Joe had a lot of guests on his show, and they talk about something like climate change, or they talk about homelessness or universal basic income, and they wouldn't finish those conversations. And so it kind of frustrated me because there was no way to kind of jump in. It wasn't like a live stream. So I thought, well, I'll start a podcast where I'm finishing these unfinished questions. Because Joe had Andrew Yang on like a few years ago, and they were talking about UBI. And Andrew was talking about the benefits of it. And Joe was saying that, that it's going to turn everybody into a bunch of potheads, and they're just going to sit around and be lazy and watch Netflix. And I was like, well, no, I've got a different take on that. So that's how I started my podcast. I was talking about, like, what does defunding the police mean? What does it mean to me? How to solve homelessness. I gave some suggestions, things like that. And I literally talk about everything from that to movies, to music. I worked in NASCAR for over 25 years in Formula One. My family owns an IndyCar team. I grew up here in Nashville, but I lived in Charlotte for 25 years. My mom was in the music business as a music agent for the William Morris Agency. And my cousin is an actor, Fisher Stevens. So I'm like taking my background in entertainment and business and management and taking that to my channel and trying to find solutions to things and point out nonsense when I see nonsense. Like one of my recent videos was all about the Mandela effect, and I talk about what that really is. Probably today, my whole thing was about how the news media is manipulating the weather. So, and in doing some of these things, and what led me to you and us talking recently was in my defunding the police and talking about the police, and especially like the Uvalde shooting, where I talk about the police there. In all my research for these stories, it led me to the Young Turks, which led me to some auditor. And then it took me to Amagansett Press, and I watched one of his videos in South Dakota. And so I did a video about, are these guys doing good or bad? Are they helping or hurting? And I didn't get sucked in, but I kind of got sucked in. I kind of got duped by Jason's charm, and his whole, well, I'm 50 something years old and I'm wanting to leave the world a better place for my kid kind of nonsense. And the First Amendment's taken a beating lately. And then, so I was like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, this guy should be able to film in public, right? So I didn't watch any of the, library videos or, or any of this stuff. And in the one I saw in South Dakota, he was kind of being a little dismissive to the auto parts guy. And 2 minutes later, they ended up having a wonderful conversation, I guess. And so.
Breaking up there a little bit, John.
Huh?
No, you were breaking up there a little bit. You froze. All right, you're good. You're good.
Okay. And even in my video, I say, that I do question Jason's tactics. At the time, have only seen one video. And then when I started watching more of his stuff, then it led me on to you guys. In fact, you were the first video that I saw. And somebody sent it to me. One of my subscribers sent it to me. And it was your one about Jason being arrested. And I was like, well, okay. Well, wished I'd seen this a few days ago. And that's when I reached out to you, Frauditor Troll, The Plot Hole, and a few of these other guys. asking y'all to come on my show to discuss this, but everybody's so busy. But you and I worked this out to where we're kind of doing this, and we've been talking for the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's been great. And yeah, I noticed a lot of people were saying when I mentioned I was going to have you on the show, a lot of people were talking about that video when you did Amagansett Press, and I let them know, it's like, yeah, you saw that, you made the video, but then you found out more about it. So it's kind of like me. Oh, really quick. Yeah, auditors are scumbag. Jason is Amagansett Press. Amagansett Press's real name, and its public information, is Jason Gutterman, although I like to call him Jason Gutter Trash.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is actually, in a weird way, the first auditor for you to see that was both a good and a bad example, because he's someone who he has that charm, and half his videos do have cordial encounters, but he thrives on the bad ones. I mean, if you look at his channel, all of his thumbnails are always focused on the one person who had a problem with him filming. And yeah.
And I wish, and is this let me see here. Dave Malik says Jason has charms. Well, and again, like, you know, you guys are early to the game. I'm new to all this. And so when you're watching Jason and you don't know what any of this stuff is, and this is the first time you're ever seeing any of this, because I'd not heard of Chili or who's some of these other people. Again, this is a whole new genre to me, you know, these First Amendment auditors. So I'd only seen the one video. Now, had it been the one where he was at the post office where he maced that older lady, then I would have had a completely different take. But when he's in this one in South Dakota, and he's talking about his background as a journalist and this, that, and the other, and he worked for this, you know, newspaper as a beat reporter or something, worked as a fashion photographer, like, well, it all kind of makes sense to me. Shit, I don't know. From what I don't know most people that are running around bitching about their First Amendment anyway. So
yeah, from what I heard, he also worked as paparazzi, which does explain a lot. You know, it's someone who is lacking very much in empathy and is incredibly. Right. I mean, he's just a sociopath, and it's just ridiculous. But yeah,
and that's what we know now, right? And that's what we know now. And so, to the point of now, like, I've gone as far as where a lot of people just talk about this stuff. You know, I try to dedicate my life into making institutional change. So I've reached out to the people at GoFundMe and let them know, like, hey, here's his website, here's his YouTube channel. This guy is e-begging from you guys, and he's going to take that money and use it to go harass people. So you'd really be supporting a terrorist, because if they seized the money from those Canadian truckers a few months ago, like, you should surely be seizing Jason's assets and not let him touch any of this money. You
Absolutely.
know, and you and I have talked recently about calling. You know, like, I have called some of these cities, talked to mayors in some of these cities, and let them know, like, hey, you can get these videos removed, you know, because Jason is violating YouTube's terms of service by posting these videos with people without their permission, because he's monetizing that. So that's one of the things that we're here to talk about tonight.
Sorry. Sorry, I was taking a chug of water right when you finished. Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing too. I think the Achilles heel of the frauditor community is their monetization. And it's a grift. I mean, I won't go too much detail about who Chili DeCastro is, but he's a grifter through and through. He's a con man. He's spinning this whole, I'm a constitutional law scholar, I intend to overturn Terry versus Ohio, I'm running for governor of Ohio. It's like, he just moves from one thing he says he's going to do to the next, and then when he fails to deliver on it, he just jumps to something else and just says, now I'm doing this, and he just doesn't look back. I mean, he was supposed to go to a charity fight to face off with a Ohio police captain who accepted the challenge, because he runs around saying, oh yeah, without that badge and gun, I'd kick your ass. And finally, this guy, Chad Gu, aka Legicator, great guy, by the way. If you or anyone watching hasn't subscribed to him already, you got to do it. He's a great guy. He decided to take him up on that challenge. It says fine, and Chad went through all the trouble to actually find a promoter and find an event to get that fight in there, an exhibition match. There was even a title belt, and they were going to do it for charity. They were going to donate to St. Jude's Hospital. Well, near the end, Chili chickened out. I mean, he claims it's because he had a bad knee or he has blood pressure problems. I don't know. He just was making excuses as far as I'm concerned, but he chickened out. And then he will not address the fact that, like, you were all talk, but you didn't do it. And then lately he just had a meltdown, all pissed off because someone who had respect for him now has respect for Chad instead. And he's all talking about like, where are you? I want to fight you. I want to beat the crap out of you. It's like, I'm sorry, Chili. I thought your knee was too bad or your blood pressure was too high to fight him, but now you want to. And he keeps talking about, I'm going to get you on the ground in 30. It's less than 30 seconds, and beat the shit out of you. It's like he's all talk. He's never going to deliver on that. And that's what I said. He's a grifter.
And Jerry, you're right. Nobody should feel sorry for these people because they do. And that was one of the things that I brought up, is that if you look at some of these businesses that have ended up on any of these people's videos, but especially Amagansett Press, he had one where he went to a small town in New England, and the thumbnail is a guy with a clown, and he's a sporting goods store owner. And that guy has had to remove his phone number and email from his website to his business because of Jason. And not because of Jason specifically, but his minions that call and harass these people and leave them death threats. They go on to these people's Google pages and leave them 1-star reviews. And it's all about, well, I saw the Amagansett Press video. And it's like, you're not even from that state. Yeah. You're not even a customer there. They've literally put people out of business. And so one of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight is that, guess what, folks? These people are now on the FBI terrorist watch list. A lot of these people are getting demonetized by YouTube. Sponsors are saying that they don't want to advertise on their videos anymore. Like this, at the beginning when, because YouTube has always been kind of like the Wild West. But if you look back and look at some of the people that started in YouTube in 2008 and where they're at today, they're usually just a mess of themselves. The guys who, 10 years ago had 50 million subscribers, and then they defrauded people out of money, all the people that faked that they had an illness or something. There was a famous YouTuber who his whole thing was that he was in a wheelchair. And then in one live stream, he got up, and he walked away. Like the YouTube was full of this stuff. And now that YouTube is this major corporation that it is now, the companies that buy the ads, because it's all done through like a raffle system, how these ads are being put on our videos, all these companies are saying, yeah, enough of this nonsense. So even in because we are creators, we get these messages, and any of you who might be creators know in the recent emails and stuff that we've been getting from YouTube, they're saying like the AMSR stuff is going away. All those, anything that's sexually provocative, all the girls that are doing the bikini hauls and all that stuff is going to be restricted for age appropriate, or it's going to be going away, or they're demonetizing it.
Well, that's the question I was about to ask. Like, are they killing these channels, or are they just taking away the monetization? Because the way I see it, if they're letting you still post, but they're just not paying you for it, as far as I'm concerned, that's not really affecting anyone's free speech, or right. That's not really censorship. I mean, they're just not going to pay you guys anymore to have videos of you harassing business owners. I mean,
but then that's there's the fine line, right? Because you have so many different genres in YouTube where, like I said, you've got the AMSR audience, you have these the First Amendment auditors, and then you have the girls that are doing like lingerie hauls. You've got like the fitness buffs, you have the fake doctors. There's Eric Berg and all these guys that are chiropractors that are giving very bad health advice, and I talk about them on my show. So YouTube and their lawyers, you've got Steven Crowder, who's the firebrand right now, who, is begging to get kicked off of YouTube. You've got Russell Brand, who, is being put in timeout all the time and is going over to Rumble. You've got Adam Carolla, who got put in timeout for 2 weeks on YouTube. So it's like they've had enough. They want this to be more like public television. Because do you remember public access TV back in the day?
Yeah. I remember back before streaming services were a thing. Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of where the movie Wayne's World and all that stuff kind of came from, was public access. And that's kind of how YouTube got its start, right? It started off as a dating website where you could put out a video of yourself where you'd look into the camera and say, hi, I'm John. I'm from Nashville, and I like walks on the beach, and my favorite color is blue. And then people would respond. So it was like the old video dating sites places back in the 80s. And that failed miserably. And at about the same time, America's Funniest Home Videos was becoming popular on ABC. So the three guys that founded YouTube said, hey, let's pivot and go to more like that. We'll put up videos of people busting their balls, skateboarding and stuff like that. And so you had that. And like the first guy to reach like 1,000 subscribers was an 87-year-old man. Like there's all kinds of great videos out there. If you look up like the beginning of YouTube to where it was then to the middle, like the mid 2000s, 2012 to 16 to where we are today. And there's such great content. There are people that are putting all kinds of money and effort into their production. They're like me, you know, I've got a studio. You know, this isn't in my mom's basement. This is a studio that I'm operating in, you know, with expensive cameras and lights and all this stuff and expensive microphones. And this is because this is what y'all want. You want better quality. You don't want these kind of cell phone videos that people had put up for years and years and years.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, or as we like to, as I mentioned earlier, we like to call it potato cam footage. I mean, it's we live in a world today where filming vertical is almost considered a war crime.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those crazy things. Miss Jamie Holbrook for $20. Thank you very much. If you play copyrighted music with frauditors show up, they can't monetize the video. It's against YouTube's term of service. Problem solved. There have been a few videos where that's happened, where and I've even made the suggestion in a couple of emails I've sent. I said, you know, if you've got a sound system, just play public radio or anything that has just copyrighted music on there in your lobbies, and if their cameras pick it up, they can't monetize that video.
Well, because the algorithm will catch it.
Oh, the algorithm catches my videos all the time if I use too much of an audio clip. This kills me. One of my favorite clips is from the Tom Hanks movie, The Money Pit. I don't know if you ever saw that, the famous laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I used it in a previous video, and it was great. I used it in a recent video. All of a sudden, it gets hit by some random company that owns the laugh. I'm thinking, I'm sorry, you're not the film studio. I would have challenged the copyright claim, but I didn't know what was going to happen.
You should, because that would be Universal Entertainment. It owns the movie. Nobody can own parts of the clip or whatever.
Yeah, now, if it was another company, it was some random company called like Ultimate Audio or something.
Yeah, because that's the scene where the bathtub falls through the floor and he's just like that. Right.
That laugh.
It's a classic scene, right? And that's like the J. Jonah Jameson that everybody uses and all this stuff. You know, you've got fair use. And you should be able to argue those things, because like even I just recently did a video about how there was a murder that was recorded on a #1 hit song by the Ohio Players back in the late 1970s called Love Roller Coaster. If any of you guys know that song, watch my video about it, because in the recording studio, a woman got murdered and it ends up in the song. You can clearly hear it. And I play like 8 seconds of that song, and Universal did not grab it, but the algorithm caught it and put it. So right now it's in escrow, right? And they give Universal 28 days to challenge it. Now I've got friends at Universal, so they're like, yeah, we're not going to mess with it. So in another week it'll be free. But this is how tight things are getting for everybody, where the algorithm is catching things. It sees violence, because when we upload videos to YouTube, it usually takes now about 6 minutes to whatever, depending on how long your video is, because the algorithm is listening to your video and it's watching your video. Because even recently, if any of you have kids and your kids are watching these cartoons, you know, that are on YouTube, and a lot of them are coming from like Japan and China and Malaysia and places like that, and South Korea. So you think your kids are watching a video, they've got their earbuds and you're not paying attention. But if you take off their earbuds, because you see, like, what is it, the five finger family videos or whatever, the audio does not match the video. So you walk by your kids on their tablet and they're watching a cartoon, but when you unplug their earbuds, you hear, and so today a stranger came up to my door and he knocked on the door looking for my daddy. I'd never seen this man before. I let him in. He's a friend of my dad's. That's the audio that's on these cartoons. And like YouTube's like, well, shit. Now, you know, it's like, it's gone crazy. So, you know, whether it's the Frauditors, whether it's the softcore porn, like I said, these girls that are, you know, scantily dressed, you know, people upload, you know, hundreds of thousands of videos a day, and there's just not enough people to be catching this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really quick, keeping it criminal mentions, I guess they have tools to mute the music. Does that mean it mutes all of the audio, including the music, or does it actually have a way to filter it out? Because being able to filter out background music has been something I've had trouble finding anywhere. Like, I don't know. It requires you to mute all of it, you're going to lose all the audio.
Right.
So, because that's what I always get told. It's like, oh, snip this out or just mute the sound.
Right, because you're capturing it from their video that you've downloaded from YouTube, so you can't take out that. But it's, you know, because it's not like you don't have the raw feed. If you had their raw feed, you'd be able to take out that background, because it's just like engineering a song and music, where you do like, I just only want to hear audio only and get rid of the guitar and the drum. And yeah, you, no matter what software you have, you can't just take that out.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, because everyone's asking, because there was a great clip from one of my recent videos with an auditor called Freedom Audit. These guys have such unoriginal names, I'll tell you. When he's like trying to talk to some people on the street, saying, "Hey guys, we have a First Amendment right, they're taking it away," and the officer says, "See how good they are at not caring." I wanted that whole clip, but the very last second he says something, and I'm thinking, damn, if I could find a way to scrub his voice out and just keep the officers, that would be such a great clip to throw out there. You know, because I only have like a handful of no one cares clips. Like I have the nobody cares and you need to shut up. I have the remake of the Disney logo that says no one cares. You know, I've got Willy Wonka saying I don't care. So it's like I try not to use the same clip twice back to back in two videos. So I like that variety. Hey, Hezekiah the Fraud Destroyer, welcome. So yeah, so from what you're saying, it's not just frauditors having this problem. Like YouTube is cracking down on a lot of genres. I mean, in our community, we just pay attention to this one little corner of the internet. But yeah, other types of videos are cracking down, and if all of them are getting affected more and more, we could start seeing frauditors losing their monetization. Which brings me to what happened to SGV recently. You know, he's the guy that, you know, he pepper sprayed a woman for throwing leaves in his face. Like he got demonetized, and he took the video down after he announced it. Unfortunately, I couldn't snag it in time, but I watched it on Frauder Troll and other people's channels, and he just sounds so deflated. He's like, oh man, woe is me. Like he's such a victim, and you know, and he's just saying oh, this, you know, this is what they think of free speech. Or it's like, dude, your videos are still up. If they didn't like free speech, they would delete it and kick you off the platform. You just can't make money from it. So you have to go out and get a real job like the rest of us.
And he wasn't even making any real money to begin with. You know, for people who don't understand how the monetization works with YouTube, you know, unless you have like 100,000 subscribers or more, and unless your videos are getting hundreds of thousands of views, you're really not making a whole lot of money. You know, if you work it out, it's usually, and again, this is just kind of ballpark, $1 million or 1 million views from YouTube is approximately worth $5,000. So if you have a 1 million view video, that's $5,000. And if you get that once a week, like the bigger channels, well, then yeah, they're making $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a month if they put out one video a week. And that's usually what the bigger channels do. They only do one video a week. So the guys who are doing the spray and pray, you know, where they put out a video every day, well, that's why they're only getting like 20,000 views, 19,000 views, 50,000 views. And that's just not a way to make money. That's not a way to make money on YouTube. And you're just kind of you're self-defeating. So, because your content usually isn't that great. So the people that do good editing, like here with Tones, you know, he does such a great job with his editing. So when he puts out that one video a week or two videos a week, the quality is exceptional. And so it's entertaining. And that's why y'all follow him.
Well, thank you. High praise. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm flying by the seat of my pants learning, or, you know, self-teaching how to do video editing. I mean, Fezzington was an incredible achievement getting him to work. You know, so that was, yeah, I like what I do. I like experimenting and making this a platform upon which to just try to create.
Fred, it is. So Fred Kelso says, is the money being, is YouTube taxing? They tax us. They tax us before we get paid. So all YouTube channels get paid towards the end of the month. Right? Is that when you're getting paid?
Oh no, I get paid every 20th of the month, and
right.
I've been told that they don't take the taxes out of it. That they're going to send you like a W-9 or W-2 or something, and then you have to submit that, and then the IRS will tell you how much you owe for that.
Right, but no, they've already figured out like your state tax. Like in Tennessee, we have no income tax.
They pay the state, but not the Fed.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
your own stuff, and that's for every 1099.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fred, they do tax us, and even like when people are giving donations here, like if somebody donates $20, you know, Tones only gets a small percentage of that. YouTube takes the lion's share.
Well, actually, to correct you on that one, I believe the split is 70 for me, 30 for YouTube. Now, ad revenue is the other way around. They take the larger
Right.
chunk. They take 70%. So that's actually why a lot more people do live streams. That's why these frauditors do live streams and constantly beg for super chats, because they know, oh, I get to keep more of it. But then they're also telling people, oh, go to my Cash App, go to my PayPal, because they'll get the money sooner.
And listen, that's, you know, and that's the whole thing of this. And this is where these people constantly, they're scamming people with this stuff, with the Cash App and the PayPal and all this stuff. And typically what a business does, even Joe Rogan's, I think, website has a donate button. My page, I have my own website. It has a donate button, you know, but it has all kinds of other information on there too. And, you know, and for us YouTubers, like when we get to 10,000 subscribers, we'll be able to sell merchandise on our channels, you know. But for me, like on my website, I have my own merchandise on my website and a donate button. You know, Tones, you and I talked about it. You're going to be having merchandise. So for folks to who really want to help Tones, you know, it's actually better for you to do whenever he gets his merchandise is to buy merch, because then he'll make more money off of that. Because even 70% of $20 is still not $20.
Yeah. Oh, well, speaking of which, Miss Jamie Halbert for another 20. Thank you very much for that. Frauditors are like Christmas lights. They hang around together. Half of them don't work, and the ones that do aren't very bright. Oh, that is epic.
Miss Jamie, I don't think any of them work. They're kind of like when you ever drive by a highway construction site, there's always one guy digging the hole and like 8 guys standing around watching them. You know, that's how those people seem to be. I don't know why, because again, I'm not fascinated by this stuff, but I've been watching a little bit, not too much where it's going to rot my brain, but you know, you guys have turned me on to what's her name, Sweet Tea.
Oh God!
And who's the guy? Who's the guy from Colorado that she runs with?
Denver Metro Audits. He is someone like, oh God, he makes my blood boil as much as Amagansett Press. Now I've said it on my program many times. Like I'm a guy who has a little bit of a temper, and you know, videos like Amagansett Press and videos like Detroit or Denver Metro Audits, like they really piss me off. And you know, like I remember the one that he did in a library, and that the police they called the police, but they never came, and just nothing was stopping this guy. I punched my wall. Like I just reached out and just, you know, slammed my fist into the wall, and I didn't damage the wall, thank God, but my knuckles hurt after that.
But now, was that the video?
Angry.
Was that the video where it was all of them in there? And
yeah, they were just in that library, just harassing those women.
And the one employee there, was like the security guard. He was like, "You can go away," and he's like, "Well, I don't take orders from you." You talking about that video, or because they seem to do this. These dipshits seem to, like, where they go to libraries, they go to these places, and it's like, listen, I thought their whole thing was that they were cop watching. You know, like
that's how it started.
Right, but they're never. It's only they're destroying these other places and hoping that the cops do show up. Where it's like, hey, idiots, just only do police stations. So this messing with people at post offices, these messing with people at the mayor's offices, like this has gotten out of hand. And now you're seeing government buildings all over the country are putting up signage that say no filming. You have to make an appointment. You have to be a reputable news source. Your independent journalist bullshit is bullshit. So,
and I mentioned it in a previous stream that if these guys want to call themselves independent journalists, fine, I will hold them to that standard. And the standard shows they are terrible journalists. I mean, they don't follow any ethics codes. They, they don't publish their stories, and they don't go through the proper channels. Like if you're an actual reporter and you're doing a story on somewhere, you contact them in advance and say, yeah, I'm doing a story. I'd like to see, is anyone willing to go on record about what I'm looking into? Or if it's a large company that has a media relations department, like that's who you go to. You don't just show up and ambush people.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. There's professionalism. And especially for journalists and even independent journalists, because there are a lot of those. Richard Engel, who we all probably know from MSNBC, he is an independent journalist. He is on the payroll at MSNBC, but he's a stringer. So they only bring him on as like a war correspondent or stuff like that. He's not on every day on MSNBC. So those are technically what you would call an independent journalist. And these guys kind of just, they get all convoluted in their head. Because like the other day I saw a video with, what's his name, from Long Island Audit.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Have you seen that recent one where he's in a courthouse and the police show up and they're like, read this sign?
I have not gotten to see it yet. I need to see it.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic because this is now what's happening everywhere. These courthouses, these things are putting up signage that say, this is something from the judge, whatever. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. You have to have business here. So you can't just come in and hang out. This is not a, it's not a field trip, people.
Yeah.
And that's what it seems like whenever I've seen, again, I can't watch a lot of this because I feel like it's rotting my brain. But with Sweet Tea and Denver Metro, where it's like this, it looks like the crew from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like just three degenerates skipping school to screw around and mess with people at the library. Like,
exactly.
What are you doing?
I love this. The site I read, frauders are the Jerry Springers of YouTube. They live for confrontation. That's true. That's what they're looking for.
And if you look at, because I'm a little old, but like before Jerry Springer, there was Morton Downey Jr. And if you ever find any of his videos on YouTube, Morton was in the late 70s and the early 80s, way before Jerry Springer. He was like around Phil Donahue and those guys. It was the very first of this where you've got midget tossing and all this hyperbolic nonsense, transgender people, transvestites. Somebody had been on his show, came out to profess his love to his best friend who was straight, and this guy was gay, but they were best friends growing up. And the guy murdered the guy after the show. Like, man, you made me look gay on the show, and he murdered him. And that happened on Sally Jesse Raphael's show and Jenny Jones's show.
It's funny you mentioned Sally Jesse Raphael because everyone compares Chili de Castro to that person because of the glasses.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Real quick, Major Keys says this crackdown comes after the EU passed the Digital Services Act this year that heavily penalizes social media platforms for the harassment, brutality, misinformation, etc. on these channels. Yeah, that's where we're headed. We're going to be following Europe's lead. And
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and Miss Jamie Hallberg, $10 again. Thank you very much. Very generous. Lack of accountability and discipline has turned a whole lot of people into perpetual toddlers. Exactly.
Right.
Like we've got to rein these guys in. It's not tyranny. It's responsibility and accountability.
And Keys. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but was that the one who just posted last? Yeah, Major Keys. When you look at this stuff, with YouTube has just added a new feature. So whenever you guys are watching videos from these people, from Amagansett or whoever it is, any of these people, or just any video in general that you don't approve of, whatever is in there that you don't like, you go onto the top corner and you hit the gear button and it says report. And now under report, there is misinformation. So that is new. That's very new. But if it's Amagansett Press or these people where they're harassing, people in a library, then you hit the bullying and harassing. And the more people that report this, the more the algorithm says, oh, I got to get somebody to look at this. I've got to get a human to pay attention to this because there's not enough people at YouTube corporate offices. And Susan, the CEO, is not sitting at home watching videos trying to see like who she's got to police. So if nobody's reporting them, everything's fine, fine and dandy. So we all have to kind of step in, and you don't want to feel like a Karen by doing this, right? But this is how you make change. So if you don't like those videos, if there's violence, it says there's violence. If it says hateful and abusive acts, you click on that, depending on what fits the thing. Now, if everybody goes on there and hits the promotes terrorism, okay, well, then it's probably going to go, this is just people like back in the day where everybody used to downvote.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Major Keys makes a good point. They lie about laws all the time. That could be categorized as misinformation. I mean,
and that's why you would click on that. So if that's the thing. So, but what I'm saying is if wherever in the video, so if you're 20 minutes into one of these videos from these people and they say misinformation, that's when you report for misinformation, because then that syncs up to, well, this is the time that you saw this thing. So if 5 minutes later, you're watching that same video and you didn't report anything, and there's a fight and you didn't click at that time, it's not going to know where to go. So because the algorithm is not watching that whole video, and a person is probably not going to be able to watch a video. So at whatever point in that video you see the thing, that's when you report it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do feel like we need to do that more often. I mean, everyone's exposure to these videos is through us.
But Stanley, that's the whole thing, right? So flooding them, is kind of like that swatting thing that was so popular a few years ago, right? So two wrongs don't make a right, because then you guys don't want to get in trouble and get kicked off of YouTube because they say, well, see, now you're harassing them. Because that's what's even happening to some of the people in Tones's group, is YouTube's looking at some of the guys that are calling these guys dipshits and morons and all this kind of stuff. And they're saying, well, now you're bullying them.
And I admit I'm guilty of saying, calling people or calling these guys idiots. And that's probably why my videos have to always go through a manual review, even when there isn't a violent arrest involved. And once again, it's not cracking down on free speech. It's just, if YouTube wants advertisers to pay for the privilege to be on the site, they want to make sure that's on reputable content.
Right. Hey, can you click on Link Cheese comment right there?
Let's see. Wait a minute.
The new guidelines.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, if the new guidelines are being used, that must be why Amagansett Press has started pretending to be a street photographer. You know what? I would not be surprised. He has started claiming street photography. The thing is, and I said this on my stream the other night, that I've watched street photography videos. I mean, I've watched walk around videos. They're always on the move. They don't stop and just point a camera straight into someone's business. Like, no, they're showing the perspective of, oh, I'm just going to start walking through this neighborhood, down the street, through this district. That's street photography.
And so Linkchi, so YouTube's terms of service, if I'm out, because what you always hear Jason and these people say is, well, if I'm at Disneyland and I take a photo of my kids and there's 4,000 people in the background, I'm not asking for their permission. Yeah, but those people are out of focus, and if you're just randomly catching people, that's one thing. But according to YouTube's terms of service, if I'm out walking around taking video of stuff in Linkchi, I walk up to you and you now become, the central part of my story, which is what happens with these guys. Mm-hmm. I have to have your explicit permission. This is where documents now come in, where like, hey, I'm doing a video. This is what it's about. You're in this. Can I get your to sign a release waiver? And they go, well, you don't need one. Well, that's bullshit. The law is that yes, you do. Because as soon as I'm making money off of your likeness, that's where we start having issues with this. So where Jason and these guys go, well, you're out in public. You can be filmed in public. Yeah, Jason can film in public and do whatever he wants. And if he posted it to Facebook, like did you ever have like an aunt or uncle or somebody that used to do the slideshows in like the 70s and 80s?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're just sharing photos on Facebook or Instagram and you're not getting money, that's fine. But as soon as you become monetized and this is a business, then that's where laws start getting a little tricky.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. Like, these guys are they just say, oh no, I don't need your permission. Like, and just think, oh, I've said it, therefore it is. It's like, no, it's very much a real thing. And I think the issue is some people don't want to take the time to pursue it. You said so yourself. You called a few businesses and they have taken the time to actually issue.
I talked to Jamie. Complaints. I talked to Jamie out in South Dakota. So in that video where Jason is out there, Amagansett Press, giving that guy a hard time who owns that auto body shop, I called Jamie and actually had a 19-minute conversation with him, and it was very delightful. And he was kind of indifferent. And most people in South Dakota are. A lot of those people are kind of they're mostly into the First Amendment and all this constitutional nonsense. Yeah. And he said that, because I was like, you can have that video taken down. And he's like, well, I actually got a couple of good Google reviews. And it's like, yeah, because the thing went well. Had it not, they probably would have ruined his business. And that's happened to too many of these people. And we don't know, right? Y'all don't know. Tones and I don't know what's going on in the background. We don't know how many of these cities. I talked to the mayor of the town in Ohio where he's outside of a restaurant, and it's that burger place where the manager comes out and they close the windows. They they have lost all their employees. They can't get anybody to come work at that place. I could not get a hold of them on the phone. I called the city mayor's office or the town council, got a hold of the mayor. I was actually, whenever you call the number, you get the mayor. And I said, hey, I'm John Malone. I've got a show. I don't know if you know about this. He didn't know this video existed. And I'm like, yeah, go watch this video. And he called me back a day later and was like, oh my God, yeah, our city attorney is working with this. They've reached out to YouTube. We're trying to, put out a cease and desist. Like, this is the only way to get rid of these people. And there are legal proceedings, and every state's different, every county's different. But the more people that reach out to YouTube that say enough is when this will stop.
And I like to think we're getting there. Real quick, Jeffrey Fillmore, don't worry about it. I said it on my last stream as well. Like, unlike the frauditors, I don't do this primarily for making money. I'm someone where if someone wants to give me money for what I do, either A, they're getting something really good in return for it, or it's just because they want to. I mean, you mentioned the merchandise thing. I mean, come on, people. Like, I hate to use this classic trope, but put a 1 in the chat if you would love to see Fezzington on a T-shirt or a mug in the future.
Yeah, like Fezzington for President T-shirts. Right?
Oh yeah, I would so do that.
And people, and I'm sure your people would love that. So, and here's the other thing: is that Jeffrey? So here's another thing. I don't know if you guys know this. Another way to support Tones or any of your favorite creators when you're watching videos on YouTube, and in the beginning a commercial comes on, and when it says skip, if you're hitting the skip button, they're losing money. Because we get paid on that. You are watching those commercials. That's the ad revenue. So if you're skipping through the ads, they're not getting paid for only 5 seconds, because it's, what is it, like 5 seconds in a lot of them, where it says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you can hit skip. So you're making 2 cents a view. So we're not just getting paid on the view, it's the duration of view of the video. That's why a lot of these guys have 3-hour videos, and that's the ones who are making hand over fist money. But
yeah. Just really quick to address Billy Yank. Yeah, premium accounts, you do automatically get something for someone with a premium account viewing.
We do.
That. Yeah, we do.
But Billy still, like, if you're watching Tones's videos, he's getting money from the premium account. But even when you watch the commercials that are on his videos, he'll get even more from you. So, like, that's in lieu of tipping for the people that can't tip or donate. Watch the ads. Because you'll see some of these, like, if you're at home and you're not doing anything, these people have like 30-minute commercials. Watch them. If put your phone down, go wash dishes or do something else. I'm serious, because I told you that when I watched one of your videos. It was God, I can't remember who the minister was, but it was a 45-minute commercial, and I'm like, I just put my phone down and was going to let it play.
Well, it's nice to know those things are on mine. Really quick, Fred Kelso, I guess this is turning into a bit of a lecture for anyone who's interested in starting a channel. When you do monetization, you actually do select what kind of ads you want. Like, if you want to do mid-rolls, you could decide where they are, but you can actually choose whether or not to have skippable or non-skippable ads. Mm-hmm. I do have to admit something. I chose skippable ads just out of consideration for my audience not having to sit through full-length ones. But if the non-skippable ones are short, I'm willing to let those fly, just so that, because I don't want to make someone have to sit voluntarily through a 45-minute ad. But if they could sit through one that runs for only 30 seconds that you can't skip, I figure that if people are willing to do that, I'd rather have them do that than sit through a 45-minute one.
So do a poll, not now, but one of these days, and you guys can even answer in his comments or in his community channel. Do a poll in your community channel and ask your fans, if you were to put up, non-skippable ads, would that bother them? Because they're helping you out. You'd be making even more money, right? So you'd be able to focus more on this, and have better quality video, get better equipment, stuff like that. So I would do a poll and just yes or no. If I did this, would you still watch? Would you watch those ads? And if they say, no, we just kind of like watching your stuff, well, then listen to the crowd, read the room.
That's what I said. I'm not hopelessly dependent on the income from my channel like some of the frauditors are. So, speaking of which, by the way, Stephen Alley for $2, they get a real size Fezzington coffee mug. I would find a way to have a mug, with a full size,
like this face. Size.
Yeah, I mean, he's practically the right shape,
Hey, Lingchi, what video was that?
Oh, hang on. pull it up here. Let's see. Amagansson and his son both had to remove their videos from in a town in Vermont because
that's the town I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so I'm
a couple people
now. Videos.
That might be what you're talking about.
No, it's still there.
Oh, okay.
So
it's still there.
the one I'm talking about is the Feelings Police gets wrecked, and it's the fitness center. It says King of Fools, and he's got the red nose on there.
Yeah.
That's still up. But again, like I talked to their town council and the lady who owns the little cafe next to him, because I was like, hey, is there a way to get a hold of him? And the town council was like, y'all need to get together. You need to get the businesses from the city together, and anybody that might have been on that video, and the whole town needs to go after him. You know, like legally go through YouTube and say, we want this down.
Yeah, and in an interesting way, when you think about it, yeah.
Stephen, you wouldn't watch a 30-minute commercial for Tones?
I mean, I wouldn't ask anyone to do that, honestly. But if someone's okay with it, I mean, that's all right with that. But that's what I said. Like some people say they don't mind the a minute or less. I mean, a lot of the ads I saw before I got premium were a minute long or 30 seconds long. They were never bad. And most people are switching to the non-skippable ones because those are naturally short.
Steven says, nope. and I get it. It makes sense, right? We all have a short thing. And I hope that even YouTube starts reading that and seeing that, because all this is done through an auction. These companies just say like, hey, I'm giving you $1 million in ad revenue, spread it out to wherever. You know, put some on these kind of channels that talk about these things, put some on these channels that talk about these things, because that's how that works. So we can go into our access, and we can select who we don't want on, right? Like if I don't want Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire to advertise on my videos, I can say I don't want that nonsense on my videos.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's happening. That's probably what led to SGV's demise.
Everybody should have a Fezzington shot glass. Everybody.
Oh, Miss Jamie, let me find out. Miss Jamie, have I even given you a wrench? I gotta find out. Let me see if I could do that really quick. But Miss Jamie, for $10, please make a Fezzington shot glass. That way I could drink myself into oblivion when I see frauder videos. I mean, I'd put him on everything. If he's I just got to say it. Everyone's reaction to him was far beyond what I was expecting. I thought people would just say, oh, this is silly or ridiculous. Like, I mean, the amount of love being shown for the, this cobbled together little talking Fez, and it's just amazing, the turnout of that. And it's great, to have a creation that is so popular. So he's never going away. He'll do this show long after I'm gone. If I retire, I will give this channel to someone, show them how to make Fezzington work, and just say, you know what, he's all yours. Stephen Alley for $2. I could see possibility of a Fezzington Stein. I mean, German if someone will make them. I mean, I want to do I want to do T-shirts and pint glasses that say, 21st Amendment auditor.
Well, and I'll put you in touch with the people that make all my merchandise, because I've got cell phone covers and I've got swimsuits. Like if you go to I've got bikinis and swimsuits.
Yeah, you're covered.
Yeah, literally.
Oh God. Can you imagine a Fezzington one? It's like, one is, would I have his eyes be on them, or would it be one on each cup?
Exactly.
Fez for press. Yeah. But yeah, I do hope to have him on live streams too. I do have plans for that too.
Mitchell Oates. Higgins he does remind you of Higgins, doesn't he?
Wait, where am I looking for?
Mitchell Oates says Fezzington in his dry humor reminds him of Higgins from Magnum PI.
Yes, yes, very much so.
Now you need Zeus and Apollo, the Dobermans, to sick on the Frauditors. Oh my God. That is awesome.
Oh yeah, it'll be a lot of fun doing stuff with him. Like I want to do a lot more projects. Right now I have Fail Corner, and it's mostly just about like criminals being stupid, but I may open it up to just random funny stuff like that one channel Fail Army. They have just these huge compilations. I'd probably do, instead of just one quick clip, maybe a group of them together and just have him say something. Oh, we're going to see this happen. Then it happens. Him make a joke about it. Then another clip. Him say something. And just like string them together. Like I definitely have to have a compilation video of all of his Fail Corner shorts by the end of this year. Just one long video. And oh god, Miss Jamie. For $10 again, thank you. I want a Fezzington thong, damn it! I'm smelling like a gas station hot dog. Oh god, yeah. Email me the info. I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
I may have to clean up his appearance, of course, but yeah, I'd love to put him on stuff. If they can make him look good on a thong, I will sell it.
Right.
Oh god. It's like, well, maybe I should put a caption like, "Hello, do you wish to contract with me?"
Now, and that's the whole thing. So, because what we wanted to talk about tonight was kind of like what's going on with YouTube, what's going on with these frauditors, and even the people in Tones's, community are susceptible to some of these being demonetized. Because, like I said, where you've got some of these guys that are bullying the auditors by just, even if you call somebody a dipshit, they're looking at that and saying, yeah, well, that is hostile behavior. This is passive aggressive. So yeah, that's not what we allow. Because when you become a content creator, we have certain, we've signed a document that says, I will abide by these rules. Like if you don't like these rules, you can go to someplace like Rumble where they have no rules.
Yeah. The frauditors watch each other. They do. They repeat each other. They parrot each other all the time. Now, Lynchy, the video that they're talking about was the woman they referred to as hippie chick. She was with a shirtless guy eating chips and a Jewish man in tie-dye. If those videos are gone, then hey, the right people complained and the job.
And when did that happen? Do y'all, Lynchy, do you know if that was recent? Because you got to realize Jason hadn't posted for 2 weeks. And so Tones and I were talking about it the other day. We wonder if he got put in timeout, because that's usually the first thing that'll happen. So if you get a strike, it's just like baseball, 3 and you're out. The first strike, they'll say like, hey, you broke our thing. We're going to put you in 2-week timeout. You can't upload on your channel or any channel for 2 weeks. You do it again, and then that's the second strike, and it's a longer. And then the third one, boom, you're done.
Exactly. Dave Malik, the community can't call them idiots, but these frauditors could call them whatever they want. The thing is, what we're talking about is they're going to start cracking down on both of us.
But Dave, and that's the thing, Dave, when you see that, that's when you need to hit the report button on that video and say that they are bullying and harassing the cops, because they're violating YouTube's terms of service. Because again, the algorithm can't capture everything, and especially with some of these people that have these, 30 to 45 minutes, an hour long videos. And you got to realize millions of videos are getting uploaded around the globe. So it's just a little overwhelming.
Let's see. Well, the thing I was going to further reiterate on as well is, it's not just, and that's why we said earlier, it's not just the frauditors. It's going to start affecting, my channel and others too. Like you know how my videos always end with, oh, if you like what you see here and you want to see me look at even more stupid, like I have to take out that part, like, because that automatically just means I'm calling somebody stupid. And now I can post these videos for free. That's not a problem. I'm not paying for the privilege to upload. But if I want YouTube to pay me for it, I got to take it out. And in a sense, this goes with First Amendment's time, place, and manner restrictions. If you're going to be paid, you're entering into a business contract with them, and therefore you have to play by their rules. That's how it is. Now, how many of these frauditors will end up staying, and how many of them, like only the true believers will probably stick with this, but a lot of them are probably just going to up and quit or try to do a different approach or try to do the videos differently to see if maybe they could do it.
Check out what Tina just said. Tina Bauer.
Here we go. The cops need to put Fezzington's picture on the back of their business cards.
So here's the thing. Now we have to have Fezzington be a member of the Fraternal Order of Police, so this kind of stuff can happen. you need to sign him up as a member of the Fraternal Order of Police. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, a second. I'm actually taking care of something real quick. Why can't I get it to? Oh, there we go. I've been meaning to make Miss Jamie a mod really quick because I don't want to forget.
Yeah, Jim, they are. Many of these people are heading to Facebook, and again, the same thing's going to happen over there. They're gonna get caught over there because the terms of service, for a lot of these tech companies are pretty much universal. So even with Twitter, they're doing less and less of like the porn and stuff like that. I guess a lot of porn stars were having full videos and pictures and stuff on there. So a lot of this is being fixed.
Yeah, and JD Colt, he says he saw your content. He loved your roller coaster video. He bought into the Scream conspiracy.
Oh, don't ruin it! Don't ruin it, JD! Don't ruin it.
Okay, now I gotta watch it because that one I haven't seen yet. I've been making my way backwards. I saw the Mandela Effect. I saw a couple of the other ones you did. But yeah, I gotta watch that one now.
JD, had you ever heard that story before?
Let's see if he mentions. Frauditors versus flat earthers spelling bee. I mean, it's weird when the dumbest people on the internet. Oh, I just said the dumbest people, which means demonetized. But
and again, but though it's when you start calling them like dipshits. I mean, there are certain words that we can say, and there's a lot of words that you can't say. And again, this isn't so much a YouTube. Right? So JD, isn't that funny? This isn't so much YouTube as so much as it is the advertisers that are saying like Tide. Yeah. I don't want to advertise on these videos because that's not what our company and our motto and our brand stands for. So we're going to stop giving YouTube money. And YouTube's going, okay, well, we want your money. So we're going to get rid of these knuckleheads.
Yeah, fair enough. And by the way, Schaefer, if you're depending on what device you're doing it on, if you're on a PC and you want to report it, it'll do a timestamp for the moment you clicked that you want to report. So I'd say the moment you see it, maybe rewind back a few seconds, pause, and then hit report, and then it'll save that timestamp automatically. And that'll be the one on there, and they'll go straight to that part and say, okay, what happened here? And all it has to be is a frauditor cussing out or insulting a police officer, and that satisfies the bully requirement.
And JD, thank you for my Mandela Effect video. You said it was awesome. And here's the thing, guys, like leave comments. When you like anybody's content, leave comments. And I know that a lot of people don't understand this, but the more, it's not just about views, the more thumbs up a video gets, the more comments a video gets, the algorithm starts saying, hey, people are watching this video. They're watching it for the whole duration. They're giving it a thumbs up and they're talking on there. Let's promote this. And so then people's videos get suggested or recommended to people. And that's how videos get millions of views. So if people are like, well, I liked it, I thought it was funny, and you don't give it a thumbs up or anything, it's like enjoying a meal at a restaurant and you get up and don't leave a tip. So this is free, leaving a comment, even if it's something as simple as great video. Or how did it make you feel? Start a conversation. That's what helps all of us.
Yeah, I always leave a comment on videos I watch, like from my fellow content creators. I always like to leave one. I always love to go back and read the ones people leave for me, good or bad. I always like hearing feedback. Major Keys, yes, you have to do it from the original video, not from us. And I was going to mention, John, that one of the things that does happen, why there isn't enough reporting of these guys, is the videos are showing the people are watching these videos through us. They don't want to go give these guys a view, because if just as many people saw our video, went and saw theirs, then their viewing numbers would be huge. But that's the idea. Like there's got to be a way to start the video and then just report it without it counting as a view. Like
no,
pause
so what constitutes a view is 32 seconds of view time. So if you guys are ever, if you noticed a few months ago, or God, is time gone by so fast? It's like 9 months ago, YouTube released that new feature when you hover over a video and the tiles, it just starts auto playing and it gives you a preview. That was to combat spamming. So people have these hyperbolic thumbnails and titles, and you click on the video and it's like, well, shit, that's not at all what this thing's about. And so you jump out. So this is to prevent that. And those are like 30, I think I timed them. They're like 33 seconds. It's like 33.2, whatever. So when you watch a video after 32 seconds, it counts as a view towards us. Because even recently with all these updates, remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago that nobody was able to comment?
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So Josh was talking about that. And so Josh is a mutual friend of ours. And so we won't say who he is, but it's just Josh. But you know, there was one day where the comments were down globally for YouTube. There was a time last May where likes were down, and that was that whole time where they got rid of the dislike, where you guys can't see how many dislikes a video has, because they were stopping that piling on thing. So
yeah, person talking about most of us know who Josh is. I mean, and also I did say KFAR, not that Josh, because yeah, he deals with Josh Lanto, aka Broken System, Broken Trust. He you know what he represents is someone who's very much a wannabe and has just failed miserably at becoming anything big name as a frauder. I mean, he's just completely trashed his life. And I'm just going to say, one of the reasons I got into this was I figured the more channels out there creating awareness, telling people this is not a viable option for your life. Like, this is not a career. This is not something like, don't become a frauditor thinking, oh, it's a quick payday and I don't have to get a real job. I don't have to take responsibility for myself. Like, no, this only ends one way. And I even once said a long time ago that Glenn Serio, if you don't know who that is, I have a mixed feeling of whether or not to tell you to look him up. But
right.
He represents the very end of the road where you just become this bitter, angry little man who's homeless and, you know, no friends, no assets, and you're just walking around clutching your camera, trying to gain a little bit of, I don't know, self-respect in the world by putting down others. And that just becomes your mission in life, that you just have to yell at people and insult them to make yourself feel like somehow that makes you the better person.
And that's where when I look at these things and I tackle some of these things on my show, is that, you know, because I also have an audio podcast that's on every podcast platform, but I'd rather people watch my videos on YouTube because I share more clips and photos of things. But, you know, this really goes to speak about America's mental health crisis, because this doesn't happen in Europe. You know, a lot of these foreign countries don't have First Amendments. They don't have Second Amendments. They don't have Fourth Amendments. They don't have 10th Amendment. They only have the 21st Amendment, right? So which is your favorite. But so a lot of this nonsense isn't happening in Italy and Germany, where these people are doing these things. This really doesn't happen in Canada. It does, but not because they don't have a First Amendment like we do. They don't have the freedom of speech to do the things that we do. So they have similar constitution, but not the freedoms that we have. So when these people, right, you got to be careful what you say, these people, you know, go doing what they're doing, they're really abusing our rights, you know, because they're abusing the Constitution for their own personal and financial gain. They say that they have this, you know, reason why they're doing this, and especially like Jason, where he gives his lecture every fucking video. The Jason lecture when he goes, well, officer, if I can tell you that our Constitution's taken a real hit lately. I'm like, oh, this is where those shot glasses would come in handy. You know, so it's the Jason lecture. You have to take a drink.
Like, and I've said it in the past. Like, I can't get over, like, what threat is there to free speech? I mean, there literally has not been anything like that. You know, this country's been through a civil war, 2 world wars, and at no point was freedom of speech ever close to being taken away. Not by our own government, not by a foreign power, nobody. And yet somehow they think, oh, it's taking a hit. How?
Well, and even earned it even during the civil rights, you know, and all these other things that have happened in history, even more recently. This has never been a thing. And Simona, what did she just say there?
Oh, sorry.
Frauditors have tried in Canada. That's right.
Yeah.
You know, just like that whole nonsense with the Canadian truck drivers. Did you know that the majority of them were American truck drivers? Like they just dip, you know, I got to be careful. These people go up there and they try this nonsense up there. And it's like, yeah, we're not going to have this shenanigans up here. That's why I said you don't have these things in Germany and Italy and a lot of these, you know, other foreign countries. So it's like we don't really appreciate the rights that we have. I just did one of my most recent videos. I had Mr. Beat on. If any of you guys ever watch him and his YouTube channel, he is a history teacher. And we talked about how the Pilgrims are not our forefathers. I've seen Marjorie Taylor Greene and so many of these politicians and people on YouTube and some of these auditors say that our forefathers came over here from England to fight for our freedoms. And it's like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Our forefathers were born in America, people. You know, the Pilgrims came over here to get away from religious or, you know, to have religious freedom and get away from the king's tyranny of religion to them. And I go into great detail.
I did see that video.
Yeah, of who the Pilgrims were and that they were brownist and their version of Christianity was almost like the Seventh-day Adventist, where they were kind of really annoying about it. So England was like, shoo with that nonsense. But again, it's where these people, they use the wrong things. They say the wrong things when they go, well, freedom of the press. And it's like, you don't even understand what that means. Freedom of the press just means that as a news organization, the government can't come in and go, let me see your story before you print it. Nope. Yeah, you can't say this, you can't say that, but the rest of this is fine. That is government control over the press. So freedom of the press just says that, yeah, I don't like this, but shit, yeah, I guess you can print it. That's all that means. So it doesn't mean that they can say whatever they want and they can print, misinformation or go around saying whatever they want. You can't scream fire in a burning building. That's not what the First Amendment. That's not what the First Amendment means. So free speech isn't really free. You can't just say anything.
And MAA makes a good point. Like, you know, Western Europe, it's not strictly an American ideal. Like freedom of the press and free speech is in a lot of other countries, and they don't have frauditors. They don't have problems. And, you know, and I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Like we're probably the least tyrannical country on the planet. And at times I think maybe too much. You know, like we need some rules just to make, you know, just to move forward, get things right.
Emma, without getting too specific, can you tell us where in Western Europe? Because I know, like, even in England, right, the English media has had to, because they've been sued so many times. Hey, Troll. What's up, buddy? Even in England, the journalists over there have been, you know, shut down by the government for misreporting stuff like Diana and all this sensationalism. So, like, they're very strict in these European countries about, like, not on our airwaves, not in our newspaper, none of this nonsense. So we have a lot more freedom than a lot of people think.
Yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. Like we do have a lot of freedoms, and these guys, they don't realize it, that what they're doing could get that stuff taken away. Like there's a gray area that we get to enjoy because, you know, it's a question of, oh, is this okay? Is this not okay? Like they said, you know, we're not going to draw a fine line because we don't want to end up putting the wrong things on the wrong side of that line. Well, at this rate, these guys are going to get that line drawn. They're going to get a fine line drawn. And before you know it, speech that was protected won't be protected anymore. A speech that you would think that we would do something about is going to be free reign. You know, that's what these guys are trying to do. They're trying to make like how should I put it? They're inflexible. So they want an inflexible world. They want everything in black and white.
Well, and to be more specific, because I don't even think that these people are smart enough to want that, because one of the things that I brought up in my video about whether or not these guys were harassing the police or not was that none of them ever have a constitutional, you know, they have a pocket constitution. Yeah. And I would think that if these guys cared so much, you can buy them on Amazon for like $1.89, and it's like the size of your cell phone, and it's just a little book that you can put in your back pocket. That if they cared so much, they would be carrying these around, because I ordered 2. You know, I was like, I will put one in your glove box and one in my pocket. So if you ever come against a tyrannical cop, the 1%, you can say, hey, I know my rights. But these guys don't do that. Whenever they do the whole thing about the Homeland Defense put out a memo. Okay, well, you should have that in your pocket so you can show that to the cops. They never do. And if you read that memo, it specifically says with permission from the post office. Not that you can just do whatever the hell you want whenever you want.
Exactly. Sindalucian, I hope I didn't butcher that. Yeah. It says, do you think we'll end up losing freedoms? I mean, not all at once, but my thoughts are if enough of these guys get arrested, enough of them go to court, or if enough court cases end in rulings that further define the lines, that could slowly build towards something being curtailed. That's the issue we got to deal with. Oh, Emma's from Sweden, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you guys have a monarchy, and yet it's not tyranny.
And how's the Swedish media over there? Are they held accountable? Because like I said, I can't remember the body, but it is a government agency that just, like what we have in here in America is the FCC, which is the Federal Communication Commission. So if you're on any public airwaves, you can't cuss, you can't say shit, or, the 7 words that George Carlin, the 7 dirty words. But now if you're on paid television, like cable television in America, you can say those words. You can say those words. You can cuss here on YouTube. But what will happen if you do it all the time in very more vulgar words, like you can say shit. Everybody's watched Joe Rogan's clips and he says fuck and stuff like that. It depends on the context of what you're doing and if it's more comedic and things like that. So, because I know Troll was mentioning that one day on one of his streams, and you can cuss, but it's just when it becomes like when you're cussing like a sailor, the problem you'll have is the advertisers that buy the ads for our videos are going to go, I don't want to be on that guy's stuff. Yeah. That's not what we believe in.
Funny enough, I try my best to censor curse words in my videos, not so much as because like, I feel like, if I don't censor them, I won't be, the algorithm will keep me down. Sometimes censorship can actually be funny. I mean, a censor beep can sound hilarious. Right. I mean, Rick and Morty is not less funny when they beep out the curse words. Right. It's actually just as hilarious because you're just suddenly out of nowhere, someone just yells and it's just a long beep and it just makes you laugh because it's like, it's for some reason that sounds funnier than just someone just screaming, fuck, it's like.
Yeah. And it just depends on the context of your conversation or whatever you're doing. My channel is more of commentary, and what I consider social commentary. So I cover everything, whether it's movies, music, sports. I'm going to be doing one pretty soon on concussions. I just did one the other day or a few weeks ago on concussions and how Joe Rogan got rid of all my migraines. I don't have migraines anymore. I've had 14 concussions and 3 skull fractures. And I did a video on that. And I'm going to be working with a former NFL player, and we're going to be doing another conversation about that. So look up
account censored. Yeah, it's one of those unnecessary censorships where it's like, like that. So Emma says, well, she originally said freedom of the press, but it depends. And then then it says, sorry, didn't finish. So there's probably more to that. But no, I think I get what you're saying, Emma. Like they have freedom of the press, but there are some conditions, and there are rules that honestly reasonable people are prepared to follow. And that's one of the other things too that I've noticed about frauditors. Like when they want to do public records requests, they get up in arms if, God forbid, they have to give their name for this, or when they want to file a complaint against an officer. It's like, I'm sure you could do certain things anonymously, but if you intend to actually file a legal document to bring action against someone, they have a right to face their accuser. They have a right to know who's bringing this. Because how do they know you're even the person involved?
Real quick, look at Sindalucian.
I gotta think about it. Freedom of the press means that the government can't control what news organization says. Nothing to do with harassing as a journalist.
Be a little bit more specific on that, and we'll come back.
I think what he means is like it doesn't give them free reign to do what they do. I mean, I did say that being a journalist doesn't make you exempt from certain rules, and there is no federal law requiring anyone to answer a journalist's questions.
T-Bone, we'll get to that in a second. Well, I'm going to answer your question, but I'm still trying to figure out what Sindalucian.
Yeah, so Lucia, if you could, I mean, you could just tell me if I was right, like that you're saying that that it says the government can't control what news organizations broadcast, but it doesn't give them the freedom to harass people just because they're a journalist.
When you go back and you start reading some of the documents by William Penn and Ben Franklin, a lot of these guys, like Ben Franklin was not going to sign the Constitution unless it had that in there, unless it had, because that's when we started having the amendments in the Bill of Rights, where it was like, okay, well, we could add this and this and this. What the Constitution says is the government can't, and that's what we're saying. We're saying that the government can't control the media, that they can't tell them what to print or not to print. Now, what does happen sometimes is, like, let's say the night that we killed bin Laden, people had that story. People knew this was going on. People over there that are reporting knew when they saw those, modified Black Hawk helicopters, something's going down. And they were told, like, hey, if you could just give us like 2 hours, you will be the first we'll give you the first to report that story.
Yeah. And keeping it criminal. Yeah, the government cannot exercise prior restraint to stop the media from reporting news. Redress of government is a separate item.
Right.
Yeah, like these guys think it's both. And you're right. Like they did ask them, like, hey, they probably couldn't actually stop them from reporting in advance that.
Well, they can't.
That they got bin Laden, but they just asked them, hey, give us a little time.
If you want your credentials at the White House in the press room, then you're not going to. And so when you start understanding more of the background on what happens, in these major media corporations, they've got to have good relationships with the government. So back in the day, and when you even look at like the first president to even have a press corps, but because before like the 1920s or 30s, there wasn't a press corps like we have now. So, and the presidents controlled what the spin was. But iPhones are not press passes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Ernie. Hey, can we go back up to T-Bone real quick?
Is that one? Oh, yeah. There's
a little bit further up. It was his first one that he talked about, where I was talking about concussions.
Let's see. To play a concussion. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've talked enough about frauditors. Let's get into, like, because I'm saying I'm interested in expanding my channel into new content. I'd like to hear a little bit. Like, what's going on?
T-Bone, I can answer this for you. So from 1999 till 2001, I worked for Simpson Race Products. I drove a Ford F450 dually in a 28-foot horse trailer, and in that trailer, I had all the interiors of helmet shells. So when the drivers, we would send out their helmets from New Braunfels, Texas, to their painters. So like Jason Beam in Vegas or Nick Pastura in Cleveland. And they would send back the shell, and I would put in the interior and the liner and all that stuff, and the molded trim and the visor and all that stuff. And so I worked for Simpson when Dale Earnhardt passed away. And after Dale died, Bill and I both left the company, right? Because when Dale passed away and Mike Helton and Gary Nelson held up the seatbelts and said, your seatbelts killed Dale Earnhardt, that ruined Bill's company. Of course, it wasn't the seatbelts that is what killed Dale. And all that came out later. But anyway, so I think what's happening now is it's these new cars. It's the headrests. It's the dense polymer foam that they have in there. Because when you saw the way that Kurt hit turn 3 coming out of the corner in Pocono, that was a nothing burger. So how he got a cushion from that bang is, if you don't understand head injuries, his head, when he hit that wall just barely with the right rear quarter panel, his head hit the headrest. And inside of his helmet, his head hit the inside of his helmet, and inside of his head, his brain hit the inside of his skull.
So they compounded on each other. Yeah.
And if they were to put a lighter foam in front of that foam, like a memory foam, to absorb more of that impact, because we've got the soft walls and all this stuff, it gets really crazy. But then the same thing just happened with Alex Bowman. What was it, Texas or something, where he just, again, it was a nothing burger. He barely hit the wall and he's got a concussion. And a lot of these guys are wearing Bell helmets. I have nothing against them, but I just start looking at what's going on with these Stilo helmets and the Bell helmets versus what we used to have. Because for all the NASCAR drivers, I would fit them for their helmets, and I would work on them and manipulate them because they're almost like a fitted hat. So it's not just an off-the-shelf helmet. I mean, a lot of these guys, like Dale Earnhardt Jr., has a knot in the back of his head. So I had to take a scraping tool and carve out a little notch, to make up for that thing in the back of his head.
That's hilarious.
So when doing that, well, and everybody like Mark Martin, he's got a very oval shaved head. So I had to put more foam on the inside of the crown right here to where it was nice and snug, but not too tight. Ward Burton's, his helmets were always, loose. And so I had to put bigger cheek pads and stuff like that in there. And so with that, I'm wondering if the chassis are getting back to where it was in like the late 90s when we were having a lot of guys that were getting lost because they were so rigid, the frame, and they were absorbing all that shock, like when we lost Kenny Irwin and Adam Petty and those guys. So that's, yeah. So when you talk about that, and that's why I care about this stuff, because I played hockey for 16 years and I've had 3 skull fractures and, like I said, 14 concussions. And I've got 72 stitches above my right eye where I got hit by a hockey puck. And then I had a right orbital blowout when I got into a fight during a game. So anyway.
Nice. Oh, real quick, Prissy, Texas Tomboy, I'm not sure if you're probably long gone, but thanks for coming, and have a good night. Someone also mentioned wrong one. NASCAR XM. There we go. Yeah, super fan. Yeah, Power Wagon 18. Unfortunately, I never got into. What's funny is I like watching the occasional car show, but yeah, I never really got into actually watching it, probably because I don't have access to it. I know somebody was streaming Demolition Derby on their channel for a while. Those were fun to watch. Those were very entertaining. But yeah, I definitely got to get into motorsport. It's it's up my alley. I think it's sure they're making left turns all day, but it's more complex than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, Power Wagon, it did. So after that, after Dale passed away, I left Simpson. Bill left Simpson. Like I said, my family used to own an IndyCar team, Neen House Motorsports. My Uncle Bob, and we had drivers like Davey Hamilton and Eliseo Salazar. But after Dale passed away, I got a call after I left Simpson, literally the next day, from Laura and Pier Giorgio Perciavalle. And I flew a week later over to Malpensa, Italy, and I worked in Ronco Scrivia for a year, working for a company called OMP. It's Offices Mechanical of Perciavalle. So I did all the fire suits for Ferrari, Scuderia Ferrari, and Michael Schumacher, and a lot of the drivers over there. The Benson and Hedges teams, Eddie Jordan's team, did the fire suits for those guys, and got 16 NASCAR drivers to switch over in 2002, 2001, 2002. All around switched over. I got Terry Labonte and Jerry Nadeau from Hendrick. I had Ray Evernham's teams all switched over to OMP. And then the funniest thing happened. So I've not talked about this on my show yet, but for any racing fans here. So we had to stop shipping stuff over from Italy because it would be shipped over from DHL and it would come into customs in New York. And Terry Labonte was sponsored by Kellogg's at the time. And he had a different fire suit for different races. Because one time it would be Cornelius the Rooster and his Kellogg's cornflakes fire suit. But when we got in his Rice Krispies fire suits, it literally almost caused an international incident because the package came over and the bill of lading said Nomex fire suit snap crackle pop.
Oh no.
And they're like, we're not letting this. Yeah, what is there, a bomb in here? And we're like, oh no, that's the guys from Rice Krispies. It's snap crackle and pop.
Oh my god.
They're embroidered on his fire suit.
Oh, that's hysterical.
And so the suits never came for the Bristol race, and he had to wear one from last year. And it was like, yeah, this isn't working, because this is like right after 9/11. So they're scrutinizing everything that is coming over. And it got to the point where I was just flying stuff back and forth in a big hockey bag where I could fit in as many suits as I could. And it was like, yeah, this is just becoming no good. But then and then in 2000 and end of 2002, 2003, I worked for Racing Radios, doing all the two-way communication for all the teams and all the broadcasts. So
that's pretty cool stuff.
And so that was my life in motorsports. So
let's see, how long are we going at this?
Yeah, like an hour and 23 minutes.
Yeah, and I could see. We topped out like at over 100, but it looks like we're dipping down. I saw a couple people are calling it a night. I'm on the West Coast and it's almost 8:30. You're on the East Coast, aren't you? It's got to be past 11 for you, isn't it?
I'm in Nashville, buddy.
Oh, okay. So you're more in the
central time.
Oh, okay. I think we're gonna call it a night. Just because I
hey, real quick
too, but oh yeah, sure. Yeah, if you got something else to throw in, let's do it.
Power Wagon. So here's the funny thing, Power Wagon. If you can put up his
which one? Simpson one.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
or no, there was another one where it says super cool. So here's the funny thing. Power Wagon, this is what's funny. I put 2 videos up on my channel like 2 months ago. One was about how drivers' helmets affect the performance of their car. Because like whenever we used to have testing, you know, like on Thursdays and Fridays before qualifying on Friday. So we'd have practice on Thursdays back in the day. A lot of the guys, if their car was mishandling, they would end up in my trailer. John, my helmet's not fitting, or it's too loose, or it's too tight. And it's like, no, your car is like, you're just finding something to bitch about. And so I did a whole video on that and got into more detail. And then I put up another video about the time that Joe Gibbs called me, because right after Dale died, Bill, before we left Simpson, Bill came up with what you're seeing now guys are wearing. It's called the decelerator. It was an answer to the Hans device. And we got a lot of guys to wear it. And Coy Gibbs, Joe's son, was driving in the Bush series at the time, in the truck series, did not want to wear anything. And Coy and I are good friends. So Joe called my cell phone, and I did a video on this. And it was like, you know, I answered the phone and I'm like, hello, this is John, this Simpson, this is John. He's like, hey, it's Coach Gibbs. And I'm like, okay, who is this? Who's pranking me? You know, there's no way Coach Gibbs, you know, is calling my cell phone. And he's like, no, Bill gave me your phone number. It's really Coach. This is not a prank. Listen, I know you're close with Coy, and would you do me a favor? And I know you've got this new device. He won't wear anything. And we, you know, so he was asking me to talk his son into wearing a Hans device. I'm like, wait a minute. The guy who used to, like, you know, grab the face masks of, like, you know, Art Monk and all these famous Redskin players on the sideline is, you know, can't talk his son into wearing a helmet. You know, he won't obey his dad, and he's asking me. So I put these 2 videos up, and nobody watched them. You know,
we got to change that.
Nobody. Well, I took them down. Because nobody was watching them. And what cracks me up is there are a gaggle of YouTube channels of YouTube fans or NASCAR fans that have never worked in NASCAR. You know, I guess they go to some races now, but they don't have like the in-depth, you know, they speculate. And I've even reached out to those guys like, hey, if you want to know somebody who's been in the garage, you know, I molded all the drivers' ears for their earbuds that they use. I wired up all their helmets when I worked at Racing Radios, wired up the cars, program all their radios. Like, I have inside information to this stuff. I used to make their fire suits. I'm friends with a lot of them. A lot of them came to my wedding. I went to a lot of their weddings. Like, we're a family. When you're in NASCAR, it's a traveling family. And we traveled 39 out of 52 weeks out of the year. And these guys weren't interested. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with YouTube? Why would these guys not want somebody on here? Because I'm going to start, you know, and I'm waiting for my subscribership to grow to have my friends on, like Jimmy Johnson and Ward Burton and Mark Martin, you know, and Rusty Wallace and, you know, Bobby Labonte. I'm going to have these people on my show eventually. But my fear is if I have them on and they get 1 million views, or, you know, or I won't get 1 million views because I only have so many subscribers.
Yeah.
But yeah, YouTube just blows my mind.
It does. Really quick, T-Bone, thank you for the $10. Tone's really good show. Learned a lot and entertained. Found a new channel of interest. Thank you. Yeah, guys, for sure. Like, head on over to the John Malone Show. I'll drop the link again in the chat right now. Yeah, head on over to John Malone Show. Check out his videos. He makes great stuff. I've watched a few of them, and you know, it's entertaining and very informative. You know, when you're like me and you need a break from the stupid and the frauditors, it's good to go out and explore other stuff. I mean, my channel was never meant to be only talking about dumb people doing dumb things. It was meant to just be, hey, let's explore a topic and see how far we can go with it.
Mitchell Oates. So yeah, Mitchell, I was. So, but initially when I first started at Simpson, our office was in front of Concord, you know, Speedway. So right in front of old Lowe's Motor Speedway, out front there across the street from, is it Sam Bass? So that's where our offices originally were. And then we did move up to the Motorsports Park up there by the drag strip. But moreover, right off of, was that exit 36? So yeah, that's where we ended up. And Racing Radio's offices are right behind Simpson World up there because we used to have 2. So yeah, that's where I was at, buddy.
Yeah, have a good night, Emma. Thanks for coming on.
Good night, Emma.
Yeah, it must be later for you. You're all the way over there.
Yeah, Emma's probably waking up. Emma should be waking up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, keep it criminal. Like, he's already subbed. Love the delivery and yeah. yeah, hopefully we can get you some more subs on there. In fact, I think, yeah, Power Wagon says put the NASCAR videos back up if you still got them. Like, couldn't
I
hurt.
do.
Yeah.
I do. And again, like, but what I want to do is, I'm just gonna, I'll maybe keep those to the side when I start
Mhm.
having my friends on, because like I had Tiffany on my show when I first started. Tiffany, the '80s musician.
Yeah.
I've known Tiffany for many years. Like I said, I grew up. My mom was an agent here at the William Morris Agency, so those are the people I'm having on. I had Professor Dave on my show last year. Like I said, I had Mr. Beat on my show, and I've got AJ from the Y Files is going to be coming on my show. So that's
Nice.
kind of what
Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
I saw his, and it'd be fun to if he and I ever have anything in common. It'd be fun to have Hecklefish and Fezzington
They could
do a
talk about
double act.
conspiracies. They
Yeah.
could they could have a thing about Sasquatch or something.
Yeah. Chippy Peach for thank you for the $5. Ever think of piping show tunes into their headsets just cause?
Oh, the drivers?
Yeah.
Is that what he's asking me, or are we talking about
Yeah,
frauditors?
yeah, I think the headsets for the drivers.
So we did make custom earbuds, because just like I have for me that I monitor myself, similar to what we made for the drivers. And we did make a custom pair with stereo monitors inside for Dale Jr. So whenever they go practice at a racetrack, where they go like Daytona and just be down there by themselves, the whole, just their team, not a race event. And he would plug into, we put a special jack where he could plug into his iPod back in the day. So
Huh.
yeah,
Hey,
we could rock out.
Hey, Artsac Union. Oh yeah, you're on the West Coast with me too. Yeah, and yeah, Emma's subscribed to you, so yeah, hopefully we can get you some more subs, and so you could pursue
Thank
what
you
you're
all.
pursuing. Yeah.
Thank you all.
I'd say I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Like, we're at an hour and a half, and so if you want to, I mean, we've talked a lot about your channel, but if you want to give it one last plug before we call it.
Yeah, guys, go over to my channel. It's the John Malone Show, and on there, if you go to my about page, it has more about me. It has links to my website, which has more about me. So there, follow me on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I've got a Facebook page, and all these are on my YouTube channel. But like pretty soon, eventually, one of these days, I'm going to be having a special guest. I'm going to be having Fezzington's going to be on my show, and we're going to have a conversation. So, like, these are things that are coming down the road, that where more of us start working together to help each other grow and provide y'all the entertainment that you want. That's how we'll make this thing successful for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I may be calling on you for some advice on how to better expand the brand and everything. And, like I said, it's the idea of Fezzington on certain merchandise should be fascinating. So I may be looking for advice on that once I start growing the channel further. I think I'm at 8,500 subs at this point. So I've always said, like, once I get to 10K, that'll be the major milestone where I start to do stuff too.
Major keys, but you are not from Tennessee, John. Yeah. What do you mean I'm not from Tennessee? Like, originally not from Tennessee, or?
Well, he mentioned earlier he's in Nashville.
In Nashville.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he meant by that.
So Major Keys
because he says you don't have a Tennessee accent because you don't.
Oh yeah, well, so I'm and I have no discernible accent. If I did ever have an accent, I would have taken it out back behind the Loveless Cafe and shot it to death. I'm originally from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we moved to Nashville when I was 12 years old. And so I left after college, and then moved to Charlotte and worked in NASCAR. But yeah, I've always made sure I have no discernible accent. I can do accents, but yeah, just it's kind of, in radio, in TV, you want to have a good, clear voice. So
I mean, I could probably do an accent as well. Maybe something that maybe sounds like a NASCAR fan. Like stuff like that. I'm not a professional voice actor, but I've tried to do, kind of like maybe sound like Unclean Hands. It's like, yeah, today we're gonna watch this idiot. He's real freaking stupid. That kind of stuff. Like,
Power Wagon, you wait. You just wait to see what's coming from Tones.
Oh yeah, I've got a video dropping tomorrow, everybody. I'm actually gonna be changing my premiere times. I usually do them later in the afternoon for those of you on the East Coast, but I'm actually gonna be dropping it tomorrow. I think it's gonna be noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. my time. I actually have to set that up tonight, so the premiere will be there. I'll be dropping the links and all the major Discord things for everyone to hit that notify button so you know about it later. But yeah, John, thanks for coming on. I'm glad.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I'd be happy to return the favor if you ever want to have somebody on your show to talk about anything. It doesn't have to be about frauditors. It could be about, any random topic. I could overthink anything.
Exactly, and that's what we'll do, right? We'll have you on, and we can overthink movies or the entertainment industry or whatever. But listen, yes, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. Your audience is wonderful. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed. I greatly appreciate it. Again, when you're watching our stuff, please make sure you hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. This helps the algorithm. This helps us grow. Even if it's something as simple as great video, whatever, it just lets the algorithm know that, hey, people are talking about this stuff, and it pushes it up and gets us more views. So thank you all. Thank you all. I appreciate you.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for coming out. Everybody have a great night. And if Kick is still here, #Kick rocks. Take care. Good night.